Round number 3 of the semifinals. The winner of this will be advancing to the finals. MarineLorD's Abbasid Dynasty versus B's Delhi Sultanate on the Basin.
Basin it is, and as you pointed out, on this map, you do start with one sacred site, essentially being right next to your town center. Definitely something that the Delhi Sultanate will be able to leverage. The question becomes, how is MarineLorD going to respond to this? It's a somewhat predictable spawn with the sacred sites, which also makes counter strategies a little bit more viable and a little bit more plannable for the opponents of the Delhi.
Now, since we got Abbasid and Delhi here, we got to do a little bit of berry check. Let's check out where those berries are. It looks like that third berry for B is way down to the southwest. Maybe MarineLorD's third expansion is a little bit closer. But you always got to watch those berries. The boars will be safe here today, of course.
Yeah, one of those few times that the boars are safe. It's not like a French versus Rus matchup where boars are just being slain left and right.
Yes, we respect the boars, the wolves as well. Well, wolves probably going to get caught up in the mess either way. But let's see this. I always like watching Delhi openers. I still feel like there's players who do different things at the beginning. Like, let's see, what does he have in his base already here for the Delhi Sultanate? I think he already has his mosque, so there's that. And could there be a Tower of Victory is what we always wonder. But I would say unlikely, but I would not say a 0% chance of this compared to what I think about the Kremlin.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has had a higher potential than what it used to have for the preceding months. But indeed, it would be a bit of a surprise out there. As you said, it's a mosque opening here, something that more and more players start transitioning to, because this way you can squeeze in your HP upgrade piety.
Look at that. B's only got one scout. So that's a thing. I typically open one scout the Abbasid, but B, it looks like he has skipped one of them. So that is going to be a difference. It's particularly a difference when you got to consider that since a second scout is going to take longer to train than it did before, means you get that next villager out later than you did before, which adds up to your opponent have a very, very slight economic difference very early on. But that's assuming, you keep the food under control because you're going to probably get less sheep.
Indeed, it's a balancing act, right? This is probably one of those matchups where you can get away having slightly lower amounts of sheep than your opponent, especially if you're the Delhi, because you will be contesting map control no matter what. So you assume that you're going to have a non-stop access to food through berries or maybe deer, so you can get away with a little less sheep. And it's not like the Abbasids will be rushing out for a sheep either.
He's spreading those deer out. We've seen this become more and more common as people have really realized the value of those deer, and he spreads them out and then he kills them so that you're not gonna be able to drop a town center right in the middle of all of those deer.
Well, let's be honest, it's not something.
He's doing it!
There we go!
Tower of Victory, let's go! I've been trying it on the ladder. This is a great landmark to choose when you want to lose some ELO. So let's see what B's able to do with it today with this Tower of Victory against MarineLorD. Oh boy, I'm hyped.
This landmark has been nicknamed the Tower of Defeat for a long time. It has had some bugs, it has had some wackiness. It was difficult to use. Probably one of the least used landmarks in the entire game in the first almost 1 year of the game's existence. It's gonna be interesting to see how Bree is going to utilize that. But if there is a single person on this planet who can make this work, it's likely him. And am I seeing a second mosque dropped even? There is more to this one.
Yeah, I actually watched, I think it was yesterday, on Friday, Beastie Cutie did play Tower of Victory. I saw him use it against someone in it was like low plat or something. So I'd be interested to see him try it against MarineLorD. And just so that everybody knows how this works, since we haven't seen the landmark a ton, it is a building where as your infantry run past it, they get the boost from the radius. Now they get higher attack speed. So it particularly is going to be good for your spearmen and your archers, but is not going to benefit your horsemen.
The key point is that your units have to run past the building, and that was one of the biggest limitations of the building, especially early on, because your radius on that was tiny. You had to.
Yeah, it's got a much bigger one now.
Yeah, it's much bigger, and I think that benefits a lot, this benefits a building a lot, because if the radius is short, it just takes too much time to always micro every single unit that you make to run past the building. Notably, the building is at the back of B's base here, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he's going to handle this. For now, it seems like he's just hiding this away from MarineLorD.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the way to use this landmark, because I did a few Tower Victory only streams and lost a good amount of rank. The way you want to do it is you just build your barracks and your archery ranges underneath it or within the radius, so that immediately when they spawn, they get that inspiration. So you don't have to worry about like touching it or running past it or whatever it might be. And it's got quite a big radius. You can you kind of want to build it like your Aachen Chapel. You want to leave rooms for your barracks and your archery ranges around it instead of worrying about rallying units through. But the problems we're seeing here on the front line is he opened with 1 scout. You need a lot more gold for those full price scholars, and he's being harassed right now.
Exactly. Scholars now moving out here. That's going to mean that they will not be assisting the research for the time being, but at least you negate all the damage that are being done by those scouts. It looks like MarineLorD, he's working towards the second town center, dropping a barracks as a preemptive defense to the horsemen coming from B, and we've yet to see B really using the Tower of Victory, which raises an interesting question to me. As you said, horsemen won't benefit from Tower of Victory. Infantry does. How about, like, infantry including archers as well? How about Tower Elephants? Do they benefit from Tower of Victory?
Yeah, no, elephants don't, although it would be pretty cool. I think they should, because they would make it a little bit better. But another use of it that I've seen is, you know, man-at-arms. Man-at-arms in the Third Age, especially if you go up the House of Learning and get that honed blades. When I watched BCQ use this on stream, that's what he had gone through. He went for like a fast castle into man-at-arms and then just had a barreling across the base with faster attack speed. But I think the horseman opening is just to obtain some map control, but we see spearmen there to meet them already.
Yeah, it's just to get some map control for yourself. Remember that because you have a bunch of scholars in feudal age, the moment you get to castle, you can start picking up relics. So part of the idea here for B is that he just wants to ensure that when he gets to castle age, whatever it is, he is going to be able to pick up the relics almost instantly. And because MarineLorD is playing a relatively passive game over here, he's going to get away with that.
Yeah, this tier is spread out so much. I mean, you know that the Avocet are going to go for another down center. Like, man, I hope people aren't watching this, because I don't need people spreading my deer out like this when I'm trying to drop my second town center. Those are all over the place.
You know what else MarineLorD wants to drop? Not just a second TC, but a third one. He has enough stone in the bank for a third one.
Absolutely, he's going to.
Part of the reason why is because B is also mining stone, and B could be contemplating going for a second TC himself with the Delhi. A very passive game from both sides so far.
I think this is the way the last time he did Tower Victory. I think he went for like 3 town center Delhi. And so we see a second one be a drop. That might be the same thing we see here today. No sacred sites under control yet. Scholar-wise, how many scholars does he have garrison? Are they out heading towards the sacred sites already?
He has quite a few of them, actually. He was very heavy on the gold. Obviously, he's paying full price right now because he doesn't have the Dome of Faith. But his research is still fine, and he's going to get compensated by the fact that he's always going to be guaranteed one of the sacred sites. What is that scholar doing? Wait a second. Where was he going?
Well, I didn't see him.
Oh, he's just going for the sacred site. He probably missed like, the little too past it. It initially ran past the sacred site, and I was like,
gotcha.
Is he heading towards the base of MarineLorD? What for? But no, it's just for the sacred site.
Yep, but we got MarineLorD with the spearman heading towards the middle, but we got some archers out here for B, and not to mention that scholar can hand out a little healing to that archer. So the archer could probably take both the spearmen, but not if he runs to the north.
Yeah, nice micro-SoFi by MarineLorD, keeping units inside the circle to prevent the sacred site from being captured. Archer microed very nicely, 1 spearman goes down. Horseman coming in, and it looks like with the heals, horsemen and the archers, B is gonna be able to secure that sacred site for himself. Whereas for MarineLorD, he was so distracted by that micro that he isn't even training villagers, losing the scout and possibly the spearman there as well. Not a single military unit on the battlefield for MarineLorD. It's all eco, no army, and no vision.
And we see this wall starting to be built. So B he has 2 sacred sites that are controlled for him right now. So he's got that gold trickle, and then he's got his 2 town centers. It's not super common. You always see multiple Delhi town centers. Typically, they're like pushing forward to the castle age, but he's got his 2 town centers. He's not mining any other stones, so no indication of a 3rd town center, at least as of right now. And he could start to dish out some harassment.
Yeah, that harassment is definitely going to help B just ensure that the 3 versus 2 town center deficit that he has is not going to be as impactful as it could possibly be. Also rolling off the sacred sites as well, and yeah, it looks like MarineLorD is the one amping up the military production over here, so
yeah.
B's gonna have to start matching that.
Well, I think he's realized, not to mention, you're sitting on 0 military against Delhi, and Delhi can suddenly just smack out a ton of units, right? Because they got that efficient production in there. Like, they can have a huge army very quickly. So you need to be careful to not get caught off guard booming too much.
Ooh, Vol's coming up over here just in time. Sacred Site will be secured here. And this also gives a clue for B that MarineLorD is now amping up military production. So B is going to start matching that. Efficient production should be finished by now, as Sanctity is. So B is going to have no trouble matching the production over here. He's down by 8 villagers, but he does have the 2 sacred sites to compensate for it. So relatively even game on the economy department. Question is going to be the army, especially with those camel archers being mixed in to debuff the enemy horsemen.
Yeah, those camel archers are great units. He does have his 3 town centers set up. So now it's just the time to spam military, military, military. He doesn't look like he's... Did he gather any gold? It looks like MarineLorD's maybe getting a little bit of gold. But yeah, it's mostly on food and wood right now. So that indicates that he's trying to push out with some feudal pressure here.
This is something you commonly see from the Abbasids. Go very eco-focused, very defensive at the beginning, and then break out with a flood of units. They save a lot of food on their villager production, can turn that into a flood of horsemen and camel archers, and that's exactly what we're seeing over here. Looks like the scholar is gonna get picked off, few archers also getting caught in the crossfire, and B isn't in a retreat.
Well, and it's not like you can... before, you could really abuse some healing, right, with the stacking and these feudal fights, but there aren't even any scholars on the front line right now, and they're more expensive when you're doing Tower of Victory. You lose those scholars, they're harder to replace. Oh, look at this!
Ooh, professional scouts!
I haven't seen that in a bit.
It's a free upgrade, so why not, right?
Yep, so he's grabbing those deer. He spread them all out, now he's bringing them on home. So nice for him, and he's also continuing to train his military. It looks like 14 horsemen on the field for MarineLorD, though.
Yeah, 15 horsemen now out there for MarineLorD. He's slowly increasing his numbers, and the numbers, they're rising a lot slower over here for B, only at 9. He has added some spearmen, though, and there is a limited response from MarineLorD to that. Only has 2 camel archers to deal with those. So that spearman, that could buy some precious time here for B. Also able to maintain that sacred site in the middle, and those precious seconds will play dividends when it comes to the gold income.
Yep, we see him microing back right now. Spearman bracing. Of course, the camel archers are good against them, but he's only got 1 of them right now. But big engagement right now. Do we see the scholars coming out? 3 scholars, 4 scholars, going to dish out some healing, of course. More scholar, all the scholars, they're here. So this is going to be a big fight.
Big fight coming up indeed. Spearman playing quite a big role over here for B's army. Healing also a big factor out there. And it looks like MarineLorD right now is in retreat mode. B able to outmuscle his opponent over here. MarineLorD still waiting for reinforcements. Camel archer numbers slowly increasing here though. So once you reach that critical mass, suddenly this battle could swing. The camel archers though, they will need to be crystal clear with their precision, sniping down all those scholars, because as long as the scholars are alive, B's army won't get destroyed.
Yeah, I say cam archers. Oh, now look at that. He's trickling in spearmen. Those cam archers are picking them off easily. And if he loses this fight and loses all the scholars, that'd be really bad. But we see a lot of healing right now. This is going to be a deciding moment. This cam archers, it looks like they're targeting the scholars. He's trying to, but there are a lot of them. It looks like he's going to get 1 of them right there. But I can't tell you. I think the Delhi is going to the Abbasid is probably going to come ahead on this fight.
Yeah, Camel Archer's slowly focusing down the scholars out there, and the key thing is the debuff. The horsemen of B are just not efficient enough. You're able to keep your units alive here for so long if you're B, but your damage output is minimal, and in the end, the Abbasids, they might be able to outmuscle you, but can they?
I underestimated the healing. Look at that.
Yeah. Reinforcements came in for B a lot faster.
The healing's still pretty good, can confirm.
I think it's also the unit flood. Because MarineLorD, he's banking up a ton of food. He's floating a lot of resources, whereas for B, he's turning all his resources into armies. So reinforcements also played a crucial role there alongside the healing.
Well, and another thing to consider, this is Tower of Victory, right? So these archers and spearmen attacking faster than usual. And this is a large investment in scholars. Like people thinking, he spent a lot of gold on all of these, and he's taking all of the risk here. As we see, there's currently a surround going on. If he loses this, that's a lot of his investment gone.
And it looks like he's going to lose this now. Archers are gone. Now Camel Archers focusing down all of those scholars. We're reaching the critical mass of those Camel Archers where they can easily pick off those scholars. And for now, MarineLorD is able to hold this one. The amount of resources or investment lost is much larger here for B.
Yeah, look at the villager count right now. MarineLorD ahead. Of course, B does have those 2 sacred sites, so you got to think about that. But I guess B is still creeping slowly towards MarineLorD's base, but that also will start to give him a little bit of a defender's advantage as he gets closer to these town centers.
Yeah, that's going to help quite a lot. It also will make it much easier for MarineLorD to reinforce his army. And MarineLorD is holding on while also quietly behind this one, building up a respectable eco lead. Sure thing, B has 2 sacred sites, he even has the Tower of Victory to buff his archers with. But that villager lead is getting concerning here for MarineLorD.
They're like one unit that keeps trickling in, like this camels just pick them off right away. Honestly, I think the camel archer is one of the best units in H2 for picking off the scholars, just because their amount of damage they output.
Yeah, like that natural damage output, it takes a lot of time to build up your camel archer numbers, and it's not a great unit to be the backbone of your army. It's a great auxiliary unit though. As long as you have a meat shield in front, they will be able to dish out a ton of punishment. One of the few units that do have good armor piercing capabilities as well in Feudal Age, so they do deal pretty well with knights as well.
Yep, but oh boy, the Scott. Yeah, he's got a good mass of camels though, so he could. I wonder how many he needs to one-shot a scholar.
I think at this point, it's just the more the better. So he's trying to delay this as long as possible, because every single second this fight is delayed is more valuable for MarineLorD than it is for
Or
B.
villagers. The old age tier 2 is activated right now. We see Horseman going in for a raid. I'm a little bit. Oh, look at this! A quick wall. He's gonna try to wall himself in, but I'm a little nervous about him getting caught up under this town center like this.
Here comes the surround. Horseman coming in from behind. Vols will be incomplete. Looks like the scholars are shielded though for the time being. MarineLorD unable to find an angle to snipe any of those down. And now here come the horsemen, here come the spearmen. Archers with the Tower of Victory buff still trying to finish off all those camel archers. But look at the camel archer mass over here. This could be the deciding fight of the game.
Yeah, that's a lot of healing being dished out. It's kind of hard to tell when there's so many units kind of crammed in that space. I kind of felt he built his own prison there as those camel archers moved in, but it does look like MarineLorD is going to be cautious with this fight as he knows how much healing is going on there, and now it's going to give B a little bit of time to complete his wall.
Yeah, and those walls are going up, ladies and gentlemen, and this is getting concerning for MarineLorD, because it's not like he has the army to take a great engagement over here. Look at that, 82, wait a second, 82 army for B. Look at that.
Yeah.
It didn't even seem like that's much.
Yep.
It's because most of the army is just now coming through the map. The flood is just now beginning. Little does MarineLorD know that this is only the first wave out of many to come.
Not only that, he's handing out so much healing that I don't think he's losing a ton of units.
Yeah, and those archers, they are just unleashing hell. Those do have the Tower of Victory boost, and all you need the scholars for is to keep the front line alive. So much damage output coming from the archers that they are even melting the horsemen. Horsemen that are still lacking some of the upgrades from the blacksmith. Whereas for B, he's got all the blacksmith upgrades, and he is just soaring here with 77 army against 15. He might have this game here, Fitz.
I think it's clear that the community has disrespected the Tower of Victory, and the Tower of Victory has come through once again with B closing out this series 2-1 with the Tower of Victory to take him through to those finals. Congratulations to B. Wow.
Oh, the patience from B here to reach the critical mass, and the defense looks so good for MarineLorD. The first engagement they took, it was mostly about the healing, but the second one, it was about using the healing as an auxiliary thing to keep the front line open. But as weird as it sounds like, it was just a never-ending flood of units here from B. Even without the Tower of Victory, if we just look at the sheer military numbers, you can understand what exactly happened over here. B, he had 2 sacred sites, he had the Power of the Berries, even had the Hunt working for him. And while the villager lead was considerable for MarineLorD throughout the game, it's the army count that matters. If Core shows us the army count, that's going to give us a clear picture of why B was able to close this out. Indeed, not a single moment in this game where MarineLorD had the army lead.
Well, and clearly the Tower of Victory has been named accurately. It is the landmark you want if you want to move on forward to this finals of this qualifier.